Hello there. How are you doing after this very potent and powerful blood moon total lunar eclipse in Virgo? In this video, I'd like to share with you some of the astrology and the energies that we have been swimming in at this time to help to guide you to understand what it is that you may be experiencing in your life and why, and to take your personal life reflections to help you to grow and to maneuver through this time, which is not an easy time to be in. And it is not an easy time to see these truths of what is broken and what is imperfect. This is the medicine and the messages of this Virgo eclipse that's initiating us into this next 6-month cycle until our next set of eclipses. So this theme of what is being illuminated for us right now, of what is broken and what is imperfect, will be continuing through the 6-month cycle, as well as a culmination as well. And I'd like to share some of that with you today. And if you're new here, my name is Christy Whistler, and I am an evolutionary astrologer. So that means I'm going to be looking at this energy from this deeper soul cycle for ourselves, as well as what's taking place in humanity right now. This is an invitation to go deep and to see all that's bubbling up to the surface that we probably don't want to see, and yet to be healthier, to be happier. As individuals and as a collective, we must see these truths. And if you are needing extra support with this, extra support during this time, if you want to better understand your life's journey, what is your soul's intention for this lifetime, I offer astrology, birth chart readings, intuitive readings, as well as deeper quantum healing sessions where we can really get in with those stuck areas that take us beyond just this here now moment in time and into that multi-dimensional quantum realm, which is very much what I'm going to be talking about here today. And if you would like to know more about all that, please go to my website, chrissywhistler.com. And if you find this video is helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this with your friends if they're really, really going through this, to help give them that guidance for the energy, for the astrology, to move with this flow, with this river where it's taking us, rather than to be resisting to what is, which of course is this theme that Pisces, the North Node being in Pisces, Neptune, Saturn is inviting us all into. There is that element of surrendering to things that we have no control of, to open that gateway as well to birth something new world structures, new constructs, new creations. And Virgo, this Virgo lunar eclipse is helping us to see what is getting in the way of that. So there's quite a lot going on. there's still quite a lot going on for me as well. I had a sense that I would not be getting this video out for you in time for this lunar eclipse, and I was right. I had a resurgence of my throat cold, which is perfect, and I'll kind of go into that in a little bit. But so I'm still I'm still a bit congested in the back of my throat, which is very, very interesting. And also perfectly timed as well, is because we had our lunar eclipse. Apologies. We had our lunar eclipse on the 14th, and then on the 15th, Mercury stationed retrograde pretty much the exact degrees that Venus did, 9 degrees in Aries. So we are in this communication, pause and reflect. And it's very interesting, as I was doing okay, and then all of a sudden, starting this video, it's like I can barely talk, or I can barely breathe. There's a disconnect between my throat and my ability to just breathe normally. It's very interesting. How are you doing? Have you found that right now you are in a time of very low energy, or difficulties with communication or in relationships? Are you finding this to be a real physical health period of time? This is also part of what that Virgo full moon is all about. Health related. Definitely health related. So the energies, they have been very, very potent this entire week, building up to this full moon, and even today, I'm filming this on the 16th. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like I just got hit with this nausea just coming through me. I was like, wow, out of nowhere, suddenly felt really sick. And I knew it was just the energy. Just the energy. And my invitation to you is, if you're very sensitive and you're feeling this and you're feeling these waves and all of a sudden you're getting hit by that, try not to resist. Just accept this is what it is in this moment and let that move through you. All right, so to start off, eclipses, these are big pivot points for us. When there's this sudden change in direction, this crossroad experience. Okay, clearing that energy. So if you're finding that you're having a really big rug getting ripped out from under you moment, where you thought you were going in this direction, all of a sudden you're going over here, this is completely common around eclipses. Now, this can be a real illumination for you of this, again, health, vitality, things that are not working. This will be specific depending on what house is getting activated for this eclipse, and again, to carry on for the next 6 months. If you need help with that, do please reach out. We can get you a birth chart reading. Right now, this Virgo eclipse, there is a need to see what is not working. This is the big theme that we are being invited into at this time. This eclipse was at 23 degrees Virgo, South Node lunar eclipse, which means a reviewing of the past. What in your past, your childhood, this can go much deeper as well. This can be about past lives, stories and patterns, even this hollowing out of the ego to the point where you don't matter anymore. You can think of the monks who would flagellate themselves, in the medieval eras, because they sinned, and so they would punish themselves. So there can almost be like too far into that Virgo hollowing out, this humbling of the ego. It will be very specific and different for each of you. There is a need to see what is not working. Airplanes are not working in my video. I'll just pause a moment. Oh. This is a very humbling full moon that is asking us into humility, that is asking us to see what is not working. This full moon is also opposite to Saturn, who's at 22 degrees of Pisces. The sun's at 23 degrees. So sun and moon are always opposite. Then of course we have the North Node, which is the direction our souls are wanting to go into, and then Neptune. So very, very big energies. Seeing what is not broken, what is unhealthy and imperfect in the past and in society. There's that opposition to Saturn. These structures, the structures of our consciousness even, of our beliefs. What is broken? How can we be of spiritual, Neptune, Pisces, service, Virgo? In order to do that, we must first witness and see what is not working. And this can be a very painful process. How many of us like to be called out and criticized for our mistakes and all our failures, right? The things that we're not good at. It's not things that human beings usually want to see. And yet this full moon is exactly asking us to do that. It is entering into this energy of, it's not failure, it's feedback. It's feedback to then take those tweaks, make those changes, be experimental right now. Try new things and see if that makes it better. This fine-tuning. Nothing in life can ever be perfect. That's that paradox of Pisces. We're always in this continuous flow of life. Life is always changing. It is never complete. It is never perfect. So there's that need to let go of this idea of perfection. That, things are always going to be imperfect. They can always get a little bit better. And there's that fine-tuning to make it better at the same time. In some ways, this video is not easy to do because it's very clear all the imperfections in our world right now. Everything that is broken. And we have political leaders officials whose role, whose service at this time for the greater story, all right, the greater human story of our evolution is to drill down and to show us, to the point that we cannot deny that this is actually the reality of consensus society right now. These are the beliefs that are actually in place, that we are not farther evolved than we thought we were, where race and gender and how we associate sexually, we thought, oh, that didn't matter anymore. We moved past that. No, we haven't. And in order to actually grow and to step into this new Aquarian future, there is a need to see this truth of what is actually broken. And we have these players on the world stage, but also in our own lives, who are bringing in that mirror for us to see this reflected truth. And that's what they're doing. And so Virgo, this energy of Virgo, and just this time in general, it's saying you need to see what is painful. You have to let the, like a boil, like you have to let and pop that boil, get that toxins out to clear it, as opposed to just keeping it under the skin where it's just simmering and festering. And you know what? Do you guys remember what it was like being a teenager and you had the whole zit acne thing going on? Boy, that was not a fun experience. And how many times, though, was there necessary oozing out of the pus in order for actually to heal? Now, that might not be the actual medical way you handle these things. I don't know. I certainly wasn't taught when I was a teenager. But you get my meaning. At least I hope you do. And so that's what this Virgo is teaching us, is showing us, is we gotta let what's festering under the surface, we have to pop it. We gotta let it out. We gotta clean it up. So there's a need to see what is painful and to go through this incredibly painful time. And for those watching, you're probably very sensitive souls, and it's probably breaking your heart to see what's happening in the news every day. Even if you're not looking for the news, I don't watch the news. And yet, it's there. It's all around, and it hurts to see the disruption, to see the pain. To see the lack of empathy and the compassion, and holding that space to be that person, to be that soul who can see with compassion for all sides, as much as you can, because we're human. But again, it's that knowing of these players are playing their part to break the glass table, to break these structures that have been festering under the surface for so long. We need them to break it, because it's such a gross analogy. Those in charge, the skin, the skin's like, nah, we're good. It's not great, but we're still kind of in charge. We're still getting our way, so we're cool with it. Whereas the whole body system itself, right? You're just like, man, this thing on my face is really painful and I want it to go away. I want to pop it. So it's kind of like what we are in as this collective and this energetic clearing that's taking place right now. It's really gross. Oh, and I'm going to say as well, look at that laughter, just clearing some of this energy. You know what, guys? This is a really gross time that we're in right now. I can acknowledge that, and I hope you can too. Even as there's that greater understanding of, yeah, I know we got to go through this shit. Doesn't mean it's comfortable. Doesn't mean it doesn't suck. So there's a need to find a balance between seeing what is painful and not being overwhelmed by what is happening. There is a need to disassociate a little bit, to go quiet, to turn things off, to read a book, to center yourself. Taking care of yourself, this self-nourishing, this emotional digestion that is happening for all of us right now, please don't skip that step over. Take care of yourself. Whatever role that you're being called to step into at this time, for yourself or for the world, you must take time to care for you. It's so important, and that is how you're going to stay grounded and centered to do whatever you're being called to do, whether it's activism, whether it's creation, putting the foundation for these new truths, these new structures of the world, of society that are being created at this time. But if you don't take care of yourself and you don't take care of your energy, it's not going to happen. I will say as well that I've been witnessing a lot of spiritual disassociation right now in the spiritual community. And this, don't look at what's happening. Don't pay attention. And as I said, there is a need to do both. There is a need to keep your eye on the painful stuff. This is what Virgo is teaching us and showing us. And you must also keep working towards whatever your soul is calling you to do, whatever your heart is calling forward for you to create, to do. You have to do both. And to say as well, like this, it's a privilege. I have a cat who's coming over to say hello. Probably not in the video, but I just think that's really sweet. So I'm a little distracted by the cat. But it is a privilege to, I'm not going to look at that. That's negative. That's wrong. That's going to lower my energy. Wow. You know, I would really hope that if I was, and I have been, my soul has lived many, many lifetimes, I have been in a position of being the minority, of being the person who was persecuted and targeted, and I've been on the other side of that fence. But I would really hope that if I was that person who was being persecuted and targeted at this time, that others would have the courage to stand up and to say, from a place of love and compassion, but to say, that is wrong, and I will not stand for it. And I also would say is that ignoring what's happening on the world stage right now, what's happening in politics, guess what, guys? All of that is also happening inside of us. It's also happening in our communities, in our personal lives. there is a mirroring of the microcosm with this macrocosm experience. You know, it was really interesting as I run our local homeschool group, and completely 100% witnessing this subterfuge taking place. You know, these people who, we have very clear boundaries and rules for our group, and wow, it was like people being super sneaky and like bending the rules, or just being like, you know what, I don't care about those rules, they don't apply to me, and then just doing what they wanted to anyway, and then getting upset when we called them out on that. And to the other moderators, I just said, guess what? In our little homeschool group, we are seeing an absolute mirror of what's happening in the wider world. So it's happening in you. Even if you don't want to look at it, it's happening within you and around you, because that is the energy of this moment in time. There is a need to see what is broken, what is unhealthy, and what needs to be changed. And to do so again from this real humble place. And then seeing all that, how can I take that and then be of service to this greater collective, to the divine? So, again, this is a real shedding experience. What is not working, what is imperfect within inside of us. This can be beliefs. This can also be actual physical health crisis. Emotional crisis as well. Mars is in Cancer, still square to Chiron. So a lot of emotional crisis and digestion. Also experiencing a real shedding and stripping away of our illusions, especially when it comes to society, to these systems and structures that we had firm believed these are our sacred cows. These are never going to change. This is what our reality is based on. And then just going, well, shit, maybe it's not. Or maybe it's not, especially if we don't all play by the same rules. We're all in agreement that this thing is worth sacred and upholding. Doesn't work when you have half the team just being like, nah, we're not going to play it that way. We're going to go make up our own rules. Just checking over my notes, making sure I covered everything. This Venus and Mercury retrograde cycle is really asking us to individuate. This is a following of our hearts, Venus, this call from our heart, and then to get real with it, to take a stand and to act. This is Venus, who will be stationing mid-April right on top of Saturn. We're experiencing a stripping away of illusions and distractions. All the bullshit that we thought was real, that society said, you should be this way, or these are the expectations and the obligations that we put on you. It's like all of that is falling away at this time. And you might feel really lonely. This is also part of this retrograde cycle, is we might actually be the only ones around us who are going in this particular direction. And all of consensus society seems to be hell-bent on going this way. And maybe you're that lone voice saying, you know what, no, this isn't right. Or I would even invite you, if you are someone who is an activist, who is taking a stand, are you doing so from a place of love? Or are you also name-calling the people on the other side of that aisle? Honestly, whatever side you're on, doesn't matter. Are you looking at that person as if they are a real human being with flaws, with lots of problems, lots of pain is underneath all the actions and the anger that they might be having, but can you see that other person as a person? And can you listen to them? Even if you don't agree, can you listen to them? Or are you going right into name calling and just being like, nope, you are wrong because you voted this way and you believe in this person, so you are bad and you are evil? I'm also speaking as well, this Jupiter is squaring our moon's nodes right now. And so this is a real call to connect to our conscience. What is right and what is wrong? And can you move into this, you know what? We all have different truths. There is not just one way, one right way, one wrong way. It's a matter of perception. It's a matter of diversity. And can you hold that space? Even if you're still saying, no, what you're doing actually isn't right, I'm going to take a stand and I'm going to say no. But you're saying it from here. You're anchoring into love. Are you the only person around you who is anchoring into love and not name calling the other side? There is a lot that is changing, but we can't see it yet on this world stage and mirrored in the physical world around us. I'm speaking as well to this balsamic conjunction between Saturn and Neptune that will be taking place all through this year and into February 2026. So there is this dissolving of structures, dissolving of beliefs. This old way of doing things, these old, just heavy beliefs and standards, that is sinking, that is changing, but we don't see it reflected around us yet. There is a need to accept this reality for where it is right now, even as at the same time you know it's changing. There is a need to surrender to this flow, to this energy. Again, we have particular leaders who were elected for a higher and greater purpose. Higher vantage point. There is this evolutionary direction that humanity is going through, this rising up of consciousness. But wow, human beings really don't like change. So things got to get really bad before they're like, okay, fine, we'll do it. Right? Okay, fine. You'll drag us kicking and screaming into the unknown. Even though that unknown's probably better from us than the status quo is, but it's still change. This is where this river is taking us. This is some of that Pisces message that's being taught to us. So, I think what I'll do is I'll share a story. And I'm using a story as hopefully a resonance place for you in your life, and to see the deeper experiences that are happening, the deeper weavings of your soul and your story, how each experience has been the stepping stone to bring you to this moment in time, wherever that is for you, and whatever particular lessons that your soul is wanting to learn through, to grow through and into at this time. So, for me, my soul, one of the big lessons, and if you see my birth chart, you could see it, has to do with healing from the patriarchy. This reclaiming back of my power and my own inner self-worth. That I am not a second-class human because I am a woman. And my soul, in its great genius, picked the family that I had, picked the society that I am in. And I came in carrying those same codes with me. Past life stuff really embedded deep into me. Again, very deep, hidden, unconscious beliefs. I certainly never knew consciously that I was viewing myself as a second-class human. I just didn't speak up for myself, to my father, to bosses, to partners. My needs always came last. So there is I'm not going to go into the details, but I'm just going to hit the high points. Actually speak about strip clubs and dancers, but I'm not going into details, okay? But just in case you may resonate with that, or you have been a dancer, I just wanted to just let you know I'm going to talk about that. So this has been a particular area for me that I have been deeply wounded in for, I would say, 15 years. This has been a dynamic in mine and Sean's relationship. And it came to a head about 3-4 years ago when I became conscious to what I was feeling even. And I've been doing a lot of work to heal that energy instead of just projecting these fears that I had onto him. Now, his soul, I've seen his birth chart, and I'm just like, yeah, his soul needs to have these particular experiences to going into those more darker underworld places, because that's his healing journey. So, aware of that, and then looking at me, being like, well, why am I reacting so strongly to this? What in me needs to be seen? So again, we're talking about that Virgo full moon. What is broken? What is unhealed? What is unhealthy? And beautiful, this has been a real culmination experience where I've had very dear friends supporting me through this, in particular Shelley. And she witnessed this for me, this going into these wounds. It was like I was being shredded. They were so deep and they were so painful, and just these fears of being chosen for the younger model. I'm 43 now. I do not look the way I did when I was in my 20s and 30s. So there's this fear. And it's also a collective fear. This isn't just mine. And it's not just mine from this life. It goes much deeper. So I've been working on that. And then to be able to go into that space, going with him into the strip club, to also see the women who were there. And my goodness, what they can do with those poles, I'm just like, damn. They deserve to look as good as they do. But it was like, it was such a deep healing experience, this journey, this whole journey. And I was able to go in, and there's so many layers of this, which is why it's difficult to speak to. There's this dynamic between Sean and I in our relationship. Then there's this dynamic of me going into this space where there is dehumanization of women. That energy lives in that building. And then I witnessed it happening. There were certain groups of men and women that I couldn't even look at because their energy was so repulsive and their objectification of the female body. And then there's the women who were in this absolute reclamation of their female bodies, which was very empowering for me. Because again, I grew up in this much more shamed cultural upbringing, and then I was, my soul came and programmed with that too. It was so healing. And I'm also, as I'm being there, holding that space, I was able to stay centered because of all that work I had been doing, but holding that space, clearing energy for everyone there. It's my default. And then being able to share that with Sean, being like, it's not just the loud sounds that are really getting to me. This is also what I'm doing here that you can't see. So I'm able to even share with him my deeper sensitivities. And he's very Virgo. He's very left brain. He's kind of like, okay, Chrissy. But he's starting to actually see as I share more and more how I feel the world. Like, he gets that I don't experience the world quite with just my five senses, right? And what also happened is I was able to witness one of the women, one of these dancers. She ended up sharing so much of her story with me and apologized for trauma dumping. And I was just like, no, I want to hear this. I want to hear you. I want to witness you. And then at some point I asked her, because what she said touched me so deeply, connected so deep to my soul. I asked her, is it okay if I hug you? And then in that exchange and that hug was, I can't even put words to it, how deep that healing went. That I was able to be in this energy of a mother and holding this wounded 15-year-old inner girl part within her. And to go back in time to that 15-year-old self of hers and energetically and through this touch, through this connection, to just be like, I love you. And you are not alone. As my friend Shelley described after I shared this story with her, she was like, you went and you didn't just drop a stone into that place. You dropped a boulder that created so many ripples there. And it went so deep. And I'm taking a moment to share this, to say to you, is that you may see things in the world right now that you cannot change, but if you take that time and you look within yourself and ask, where is this in me? Where is this misogyny of being a second-class human inside of me? Do I see myself in that way, in some way? Do you treat others unconsciously in some way? It is so profound and powerful that when each of us takes back these truths, these, like, acknowledging these deeper truths, shedding the old stories, the old bullshit. This is not who I am. this is broken, this is imperfect, I'm not doing that anymore. And coming back to who we truly are, into our soul, it is so powerful. It is sending shockwaves into the collective, into this morphogenetic resonance, into these multi-dimensional fields. That is the power that you have when you take that time to work on yourself. When you turn off the news and what's going on in the world, and you look in that mirror and you say, okay, where is my part in this? Where in me do I need to see myself? And for me, this trip that we had to Vegas was this culmination. I mean, it's as I said, this has been a soul cycle, a life cycle, but it's also here now moment. It's been 15 years where this wound has been in the background of my life, and it's not there anymore. And what was interesting too is I had this experience with the strip club, and then the next day Sean and I had an experience with timeshares for the hotel, and we were like, okay, yeah, we'll take the free breakfast and we'll get the money voucher and 90 minutes of our time, yeah, we could do it. Oh my goodness. Yeah. That was the sleaziest experience of my life. I have never been so not listened to in my entire life. And it was amazing to have this one experience where these women, these professions of being a dancer, is demonized and looked down on in our society. You can't go around telling people, yeah, hey, I'm a dancer. You can't do that. You have to keep it secret. You have to keep it hidden. But over here, oh, well, we share timeshares for this billion-dollar corporation and this, this hotel chain, luxury hotels. The women, the conversations that we had with the bouncer and the bartender at the strip club was so much more compassionate and considerate, so much more listening than over here, which our society puts on this big pedestal of success. And I could see after, Sean and I needed that experience together, and I needed that for myself. That we were there for 2.5 hours. The manager continued to refuse to listen to us when we said, no, this is not what we want, this is not for us. And it took, when he finally came over again, I think it was like the 5th time, to give us another deal. And I just took those papers, and I flipped it over, and I was like, no, we are done here. I reclaimed my power in that moment. And not only that, I was actually showing the woman who had initially given us the spiel, what she was a part of, the organization that she was a part of. So there's another, Shelley, boulder dropping moment in both of these places. And I'm just bringing this through to share with you that I know things are awful right now, and they look terrible, and they might look really, really hopeless. But wow, when you take this time to do this work and make those changes within yourself, I promise you, shockwaves are happening of changes, this bringing in, this rising up of a new consciousness that go beyond this here, now moment in time. I just want to bring through a little bit more to this story. So, before I became an astrologer, I was a professional fiction writer. And I was completely blown away. Again, so we're talking about roots. These beliefs, they go super deep into us. These are unconscious, below the iceberg. We can't see them underneath that water. That's how deep we're going here. And had that strip club experience. Driving home, I'm reflecting, and I realized at a deeper level, I had been trying to heal this wound of misogyny, of prostitutes, of, I'm not saying the women in the strip club were. I'd been trying to work on this energy of this underworld of these women for a lot longer than I realized. So, again, a fiction writer. I had a fiction series that I started. This is the first book, Women's Justice, a Cowboy Cat Mystery, and the second book that I wrote, Mother's Justice. So these are available if you like historical fiction, mystery. These are available. Check them out. But I was writing about a former prostitute coming back into her power, and I was writing about these underworld experiences and the real lives of these people, these women, the children. And then I was like, I stopped writing. I couldn't write the next book. And it was because I didn't realize that I was unconsciously seeing myself that way. The society saw these women in a very particular way. This dehumanization of them, this demeaning, this inferiority of them. They are second-class human because you are doing this as your profession. And sometimes they didn't even have a choice. Sometimes it was even a lie. And then once the lie became known, they didn't have a choice. They couldn't get hired to do anything else. I was trying to heal this story within myself because this is my past. I was here in Butte, Montana in the 1800s. No doubt about it. My parents took me to Butte, Montana. I was probably about 10. And that place stayed within me till I got older and I wrote stories about it. My soul has been trying to heal this story, to change this story, this perception, and this belief. And again, is it no surprise that Sean was the person that I connected with? No, it was very karmic, completely. This is what's happening for each of us right now, is we are drawing to us these particular experiences so we can go through them, to go through that needle to heal them. To go into what is painful, this exposure therapy. I was writing about this. I was unconsciously doing exposure therapy and I didn't even know it. And again, it is beyond this here now moment in time. It is beyond any single one of our stories. You know, and this specific story, of course, you know, is mine. But maybe for you, this idea of beauty standards, maybe that resonates for you. Or maybe there is a fear of the younger model within you. You know, I don't know. But there is a resonance of something. And if not, that's okay too. But I encourage you to look, whatever life is bringing for you right now, especially with relationships and other people, take a good look. Go look into what is painful and what is uncomfortable. Your own exposure therapy to help you to grow and to heal. To rewrite that story. I just want to share a little bit more. We can find the hope right now, the light. We can be that light in the darkness by actually being the daring, courageous person who is willing to look in that darkness. Right now we have Varda conjunct the galactic center, and she was square to the moon at this lunar eclipse. So there is light and there is hope, but you have to actually look in the darkness in order to see it, or even in order to see yourself as that light. You are the hope that you have been looking for. You are the inspiration that you have been looking for. If you look at yourself and everything that is there. By looking into the past, the South Node eclipse, to see what is not working. This is where we can get this sudden inspiration, this lightning bolt moments, these downloads. There's a trine to Uranus right now to bring about this change. We are being woken up to our problems, so then we can actually take steps to fix them. We are being supported by the sun at this time. We've just been in a very long duration G1, G2 geomagnetic storm. Just this past whole week has been these light codes coming from the sun. It hasn't been bombarding, and yet it's been consistent. We are being energized. So I'm going to end on this message that came through while I was meditating today, and I realized it wanted to come through for this video. And it was in light as well of just seeing some of the news cycle. And I would like you to keep in mind as well the story that I shared about the strip club and that deep inner work that I had chosen to do. I went into the darkness with this wound, trust me. And again, the shock waves of change that came through because of that, and because of what you will do when you do the same. This is that power that I'm speaking of. This deep power that you are so much more than you know. At each moment, there is a choice point. A choice to stand or a choice to sit. A choice to speak up or a choice to stay silent. Each of us, in each moment, is given a choice. A choice to react, or a choice to pause, to take a breath, to be centered, to really lean into the truth. What will I choose in this moment? Who will I be in this moment? Will I close my ears and refuse to listen to the other? Will I choose to react from a place of anger, outrage, fear? From wounds I hold deep within myself that I choose not to see? Or will I pause first? Will I choose to first look within me and ask, where is this in me? Where is this anger coming from? Why am I so deeply afraid in this moment? Where have I not listened to the other? Where have I ridiculed others? Where have I name-called others? When have I judged another without first even hearing what they had to say? Where is this in me? Will you choose to first look within your own reflection, your own unconscious? Yes, there is a time to stand, to speak. But first, can you do the brave, courageous, daring act of first asking yourself, where is this in me? Right now we see in the world stage everyday leaders and politicians making a choice for greed or a choice for empathy, a choice for freedom or a choice of fear. It may feel as if your choice matters so very, very little. After all, your choice is not the weighing factor if a government continues to run and function, or if it is shut down. Your choice is not the single deciding factor if a person is elected to government, or if protections put in place to honor and protect our earth, our mother, are dissolved. It may feel as if your choice matters so very little right now, but that is the furthest thing from the truth. You are powerful. Your choice, your heart, your frequency has the power. To cast ripples and shock waves of far-reaching change and transformation all around you. A choice to see beyond another's anger, another's action, to see the hurt hiding, quivering behind the anger. A choice to truly see that person, even as you choose to stand and say, no, no, I will not stand for what is happening. Each moment you have a choice, a powerful choice, how you choose to show up, to be, to act, to stand, or perhaps to sit, as the students at Berkeley College did in 1964 to prevent a peaceful protest and activists from being taken to jail. They all sat together. They surrounded the police car so the car could not move. Sometimes we stand, sometimes we sit. And each moment we are faced with a choice. How will you respond to this moment? And will you respond with humility, with service to others, with love? Or will you not? Don't let them fool you. You are more powerful than you know. Please remember that as we move into this March equinox, as we move towards our total solar eclipse, no, not total, our solar eclipse at the end of this month, and Neptune moving into Aries for the first time in 165 years. Remember how powerful you are and the power you have when you look at what is broken and you make those steps to fix it, to heal it. If you find this video is helpful, please give it that like, that thumbs up. It helps me. And if you are needing some support right now, please reach out. Thank you all so much for being here. I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. Thank you.